Can the Heat benefit from the fallout of Draymond Green's punch? Have we seen the last of Marcus Garrett? And is Duncan Robinson, wait for it, actually good on defense? We explore this and more as we answer 5 burning questions on today's Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. However you might be tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. 5 burning questions today. Going to get to Marcus Garrett's injury, Duncan Robinson's improved defense, and Zach Lowe on the Heat's watchability. But we'll start with this, our first of the 5 burning questions. Should the Heat explore trading for Draymond Green? Now, David, before you answer this, a little backstory. I think everybody by now has seen the video and knows everything that happened between Draymond and Jordan Poole. No indication yet that the Warriors are going to be looking to trade Draymond Green. But Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, has basically already come out and said, we're not going to be able to afford to give everybody who is up for an extension. And that includes Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins. One of them's got to go, basically. And I do wonder if this kind of precipitates the Warriors just sort of making that decision, like, okay, you know what? We're just done with Draymond's stuff. Let's get him out of here. I think Draymond's incredibly important to the Golden State Warriors. They don't win the championship last year without Draymond Green, but he's aging. The offensive game is declining. I don't know how much longer of a shelf life he has as a Defensive Player of the Year kind of player on that end. I guess that's up to them to try to evaluate, but that's not really interesting, I think, to try to guess whether or not they're going to trade Draymond Green. But let's just kind of throw the hypothetical out there to start things off today. What if they did start, I don't know, secretly making phone calls around the league? Hey, what would you offer if hypothetically we were to make Draymond available? Do you think that the Heat should even explore that option?
I think they should, as always, kick the tires on any potential trade. Like, there are problems, obstacles in the way. One, he's represented by Clutch Sports, so that seems like it's a little less likely for a deal to Miami to be finalized. I don't think that's necessarily the nail in any potential coffin or anything like that, but certainly it's a factor worth considering. There is a salary. There is the fact that he is extension eligible at some point. And so Miami has financial issues of their own without having to take Draymond into consideration. And there is, as you said, the on-court production might be waning a little bit. There are aging concerns as he moves forward. There's on-court fit to consider.
Yeah.
All that being said, you know what? Draymond's still a hell of a player. I love Draymond. I love what he brings to the table. I think he'd be a great fit culturally. I think that kind of leadership, the fact that he is as fiery and as impassioned about winning as he is, and I think nobody can dispute that. For everything else that you might want to criticize about Draymond's game, no one really criticizes his attitude, except even when it manifests the way it unfortunately did last week in the Warriors practice. But in Miami, I don't think anybody would have found out if a punch had been thrown. I'm sure punches have been thrown on multiple occasions. This is the same practice arena where Shaquille O'Neal basically tried to rip Pat Riley's head off, if not for Alonzo Mourning. And we didn't find out about that until years later.
Yeah.
I don't think that Draymond would have any problems, again, fitting into the Miami Heat culture. So, yeah, I think they should explore it and look into it. But if it's going to cost them a valuable young player or multiple valuable young players picks, etc. Even the picks, as you know, I'm a little bit more open to trading, but the valuable young players that are currently on the roster, I think are a bigger no for me, like a bigger concern moving forward. But yeah, absolutely. I don't see why they wouldn't explore. What do you have to say about it?
Well, first of all, I don't think, as much as stuff has happened behind the scenes in Miami, I would be a little surprised if somebody threw a UFC style punch like that into somebody's face, the way that we saw Draymond like Superman punch Jordan Poole in the face. I'm not saying punches have not been thrown, but that was straight out of the octagon. That was, I don't know that I've ever heard anything like that happening. And you talk to people around the league, they're like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, no, like punches, shoving, fighting. Yes, absolutely. But that is on another level.
Everybody always squares up just the same way they do on a court. They always square up. They come at each other. Next thing you know, 18 guys But isn't more of an indictment on Poole that kind of nobody really stood up to Draymond at this
No,
point?
I think everybody just.
Okay.
I think to your point, like, yeah, either a little shoving here and there, nothing new here. There'll be a little bit of shoving, and then they'll break it up. The fact that nobody actually went after Draymond, I think, was the fact that they didn't actually think even Draymond would do something like that. And then, of course, he throws the punch, and then everybody breaks it up, and we get all the fallout that we've gotten now. But to the point of whether or not the Heat should explore it, look, they have a needed power forward, right? They could use a veteran power forward, a true power forward. Draymond Green, in this day and age, is a true power forward, right? He kind of is the guy who precipitated the entire movement towards small ball and kind of a speed power forward who can play make and do all those things. But I wouldn't explore this. I wouldn't explore this if I were the Heat. Yeah, first of all, it's going to cost you something. Draymond is so valuable to the Warriors that they're going to be asking for more than Draymond is probably worth in a vacuum, right? And I think Draymond is a tremendous player. One of my favorite players to have covered and to watch and to admire. I think defensively what he does is just unbelievable. And I'm not breaking news there. It's not a hot take, but it's just it's clunky. He doesn't shoot threes. Bam doesn't really shoot threes, even though maybe he will one day, but that's not really part of his game. Jimmy Butler doesn't want to shoot threes. It's just the spacing would be such a nightmare. And you want to just sort of say, well, then there's enough IQ, and hey, maybe the Heat can win every game 82-70. If you have Draymond and Bam and Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry on the floor together. But I don't think it's when you're kind of looking for the final piece of the puzzle, which it sort of feels like Miami is in that zone right now. That final piece has to fit perfectly, right? When you talk, that's why that saying even exists. The final piece of the puzzle has to fit on all four sides. I don't know that Draymond Green is that perfect fit where you're going to have to give away some real stuff. Like you're not like contractually you can or salary wise. It works for Duncan Robinson and Victor Oladipo. If you could just trade those guys, then you explore it, I think, and you just figure all the other stuff out later. But I don't think that the Warriors would move off of Draymond for just anything because that whole defense just falls apart if Draymond's not on that team. So they're going to be looking for more high-level defenders. I don't know that the Heat even have a package to get that done because I don't think the Warriors are all that interested in young players or draft picks either. I think they want to stay in the championship race. So
you don't even think that they're looking to trade him at all, right?
No, and that's not been reported, and I'm not reporting. I thought it was a fun hypothetical. Next question: are Marcus Garrett's days with the Heat numbered? Because he's going to miss at least 4 weeks with a fractured right wrist. We just got the announcement on that. He's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks, so we could absolutely miss more time. This, by the way, the same wrist that he had surgery on last season. So this is that lingering right wrist. It's given him problems. It's been problematic. He got waived because of that surgery last year, hung around the team, rehabbed around the team, but wasn't able to be on that two-way for them. They brought him back. They like Marcus Garrett. They really do. They like what he could do defensively. I think they like his size. I think they think that he's got NBA-level athleticism. But we saw him get waived once before because of this right wrist. Do you think they're going to waive him again?
I do. I think he hasn't shown enough in his preseason appearances to warrant that. And I we talked about this, you and I, via text, and to me, the sense that I'm getting about Garrett is like, well, we've invested so much time in him. And we saw this kind of play out to a similar degree with Kizzy Okpala when they, gave away a couple draft picks and drafted him early on, kept him on in the rotation, or not in the rotation, kept him on the roster when he clearly wasn't able to play at a high level. He just wasn't getting those kind of opportunities, and he wasn't able to make the most of the opportunities he had. So I feel like from the Miami Heat front office perspective, they say, you know what, we found a guy who fits our culture, who we do like, and that has, I guess, even reportedly a skill set that fits into their long-term plans, but he just hasn't really popped to the same degree. And I think this kind of gives them, similarly to what we saw with KZ too, when he had his injury issue, it was just like, you know what, if he's not going to actually be able to play, we can't use him, can't even put him out in practice. It kind of just makes things a lot easier. It greases the wheels for them to say, you know what, we do like what you do, and we hope for the very best. But we just don't have a space for you in this roster. Maybe they'll explore a trade, similar to what they did with the Okpala and sent him to Oklahoma City for a second-round pick that'll never come back.
Maybe. I don't know. You don't really see two-way guys get traded. But Defensive Player of the Year, when he was a junior at Kansas, he has had moments. It sounds like when you talk to people, those moments are coming more behind the scenes. They like the work ethic. They like he's humble. They like all that. Sure. But really, just he played 10 minutes Monday in that game against the Rockets. 10 very forgettable minutes. Didn't really make an impact this preseason. Missed all 8 of his threes. And I don't know that he's, an elite like Matisse Thybulle type of wing defender, where as much even if he's a nothing on offense, at least he's giving you this incredible kind of defensive effort and disruptive ability on that end. I just don't see that happening with him all that much when he is on the court. So I would be surprised. Eric Spoelstra was asked about it by the reporters today at practice, and Spo basically said, "Hey, listen, we're just going to worry about the guy first, and then we'll make those decisions down the road." But obviously, he was going to say that. I would be surprised if they just kept him on this two-way, because the Heat really value these two-way guys. They'll play two-way guys in the regular season. I think Heat fans maybe take that for granted. Most teams don't do that with their two-way guys. Leaders in the clubhouse, I would imagine Drew Smith, who had a nice game against the Rockets, Jamari Bouye, who flashed a lot in Summer League, and he's gotten a lot of minutes in preseason, Michael Mulder, who obviously they just brought back, and they like him too, and then Orlando Robinson, the center, who they also like. I think those are probably the leaders in the clubhouse. Not to say that they can't go look for outside help. They can do like they did with Darius Days and go ahead and poach somebody else from the two-way. We're going to see guys get waived from these Exhibit 10 training camp deals in the next couple weeks. So I think my guess is that the Heat wait on this, see who gets cut around the league. We know that they're always scouting all the other 29 teams too for potential talent. That's how they found guys like Max Strus, right? Because the Celtics waived him from their training camp deal with him. But yeah, I think they're going to wait a couple weeks to see how things shake out around the rest of the league and then make a decision.
Will he play another minute for the Miami Heat?
No,
I don't think so either. It kind of reminds me of the Briante Weber situation, remember, where he was just kind of lingering around, and they liked him too, and he had that kind of energy. Same kind of skill set. Not lack of polish on offense. He's got the speed, he's got the quickness. Pretty solid defensive player, but he just couldn't tie it all together for long stretches. Yeah. And those were Heat teams that didn't have the same kind of aspirations that this group does. So I just can't see why they would carve out a roster spot for a player who's hurt, first and foremost, and secondly, not really producing much on the court.
Duncan Robinson, his defense looks good. That's coming up next. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tonight, I'm taking Luka Doncic to score more than 26.5 points, LeBron to have more than 7.5 rebounds, KD to have less than 6.5 assists, and Steph Curry to have more than 3.5 3-pointers. That is just an example of the kind of things you could do on Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do to play is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they are going to score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10x on your money on any entry. And the best part, you're not competing against other people. You're just competing against the projected totals available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch, including NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, and so much more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, and there are safe and fast withdrawals. You're not going to have to learn what cryptocurrency is, in other words, to get your money back from Prize Picks here. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up today and play fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match on $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks is going to give you $100. That means you have $200 to play with. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks is going to give you $50, and you can figure it all out from there. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All right, back here with Locked On Heat. 5 burning questions. We're going to talk about Zach Lowe's opinion on Miami's watchability here in a minute. But first, has Duncan Robinson improved as a defender? And I'm asking this, David, because the Heat Twitter account tweeted something out during that Rockets game, and it was a highlight that I kind of overlooked while watching the game there at FTX Arena. Duncan Robinson making great rotation, blocking a guy's three-pointer. I can't remember which Houston Rocket it was. Doesn't really matter. But overall, I thought that highlight just sort of captured what I've been thinking kind of quietly to myself about Duncan Robinson all preseason, is that defensively he looks pretty good. Now, he's not going to come out and lock dudes up like Kawhi, right? But the rotations are on point. You and I have pointed this out for a year now. As much as he has an issue as an isolation defender, he knows where to be. Like he's got crisp rotations. He closes out timely. But Eric Spoelstra remarking the other day that he's containing a little bit better, and the numbers bear it out. First of all, defensive rating of 106.9 in the preseason after posting a defensive rating of 108.4 last season. That's a huge improvement. Now, defensive rating is a very noisy, not great stat, but it's hard to find not noisy, great stats in terms of defense in the first place. So I found that one. And his fouls, most importantly, are down from 3.5 fouls per 36 minutes last season to 2.4. Do you buy that Duncan Robinson's defense has improved?
Oh, I really have no idea how to answer this because on the one hand, the metrics, the eye test, just watching him play at a different, higher level than what we saw from him last year tells me that, yes, he is. But then I can't accept that without also accepting the caveat that this is preseason basketball and he's going up against preseason level players that probably won't get the same kind of playing time during the regular season. So as much as I want to buy into what we've seen from Duncan, and I'm a believer, I'm an optimistic believer in that sense, but I just cannot erase the fact that there is the outside noise, similar to what you were talking about with that defensive statistic. It's just there's outside noise there for the preseason, the lack of rotations, or a healthy rotation that you're not going up against starter level players that are going to be playing 30 to 35 minutes on a nightly basis. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for me to say that yes, he's taken a leap. But yet I want to believe, I want to buy into it because I think you can improve defensively. Like everybody wants to make him sound like he's a traffic cone out there, but I think he can do things in the right way. And as you pointed out, as an isolation defender, maybe not great, maybe he hasn't taken the leap, but he's always shown the potential in help situations to be a smart defender. We've talked about him as an option at the power forward spot, right? Because he can guard bigger players. He knows how to guard players in the post. If he can avoid that foul trouble, another huge concern, then maybe he can wind up becoming an average level defender. I think we've seen that from him in the past. I think we're starting to see maybe improvement in that regard now, but I cannot erase the idea that this is just preseason basketball and maybe it doesn't mean as much as I'd like.
That's fair. It doesn't mean as much as you want it to mean. It really doesn't mean a whole lot. And so that's why I asked the question in the first place, is it's so hard to parse what's real, what matters, what's fake, and all these things. The one thing I will say is the eye test he's a little bit more disciplined with his hands. Now, that's the sort of thing that can fade during the regular season, right? As you get more tired, the legs get a little bit more tired on the second night of a back-to-back or the second game in 3 days or whatever it is. You start to defend with your hands a little bit more often than you're sliding your feet and things like that. So it's a thing that's not just immediately fixed. It could crop up again. But I like that the intention is there. I'll answer the question too. I think his defense has improved. I don't know that it's improved enough to matter, if that makes sense. Let's move on to our next question. Do you agree with Zach Lowe that the Heat are less watchable than Portland, Chicago, and Detroit? Zach Lowe in his annual League Pass rankings, which are always a fun read, even admitted that he felt like the Heat were ranked too low on his list. Okay, but are they really less watchable than Portland, Chicago, and Detroit, David?
I think there are external factors that weigh in on Zach's decision. Like he's not just looking at quality level of basketball or court design. He's also looking at court design. He's looking at uniforms.
It's not a power ranking.
I'm sorry.
It's not a power rankings.
Right. He doesn't like the mashup jerseys. Well, that's automatically dismisses the Heat from qualification or something along those lines. So I think he's also looking at, Detroit. That's a team with a lot of question marks, a lot of youth that could tie it all together to put, maybe string 30 wins at this season or 35. Let's say they get really, really good. And maybe they'll break the 30 win mark there. That to him is interesting because it's like, I'm looking for this team that's on the rise and is going to click or something along those lines. And Portland, what happens with Dame Lillard and that cast of characters that's surrounding him now, et cetera. So from a pure watchability perspective, no, he's dead wrong. Heat are much more fun and interesting. They play defense at a high level. They score. They run. You've got great scorers and multiple players. You've got the evolution of Bam Adebayo, but it just feels like the same tired thing over and over, right?
Yeah.
This isn't just you can't just dismiss it as national media because Zach is better than most at keeping things balanced.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like, why is he emotionally or personally invested in watching the Heat when they're going to find a way to win between 45 and 55 games? They're going to continue to play defense at a high level. You're going to have players sit out, and all of a sudden you're going to be there in a February game against the Detroit Pistons, with a roster of Omer Yurtseven, Jamal Cain, and 3 other players that you probably never heard of. And so that's just not as interesting for him.
I compare the Miami Heat to just watching the same movie twice, right? It's not even like this is a sequel to last year's movie. It's literally just
same week or so.
Right. It's just you're just watching the same movie over and over again. It's a good movie. It was up for some nominations. It didn't win Best Picture, but it was up for some good nominations. It was one of the final ones we were talking about at the end of the year. But there's only so many times you can watch a pretty good movie. And I think that's kind of what the Miami Heat are like. In terms of watchability, I think they're going to be more watchable than Portland. I think Portland is one of those teams where, yeah, Damian Lillard's back, and that's exciting. Who doesn't love to watch Damian Lillard? I love watching Damian Lillard. You love watching everybody loves watching Damian Lillard. They're more watchable than Chicago, okay? They're definitely more watchable than Chicago. The DeMar DeRozan thing he's a great player. He's not a great that's not my cup of tea in terms of watchability. I could see Detroit being more watchable. I'm really interested in Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham, obviously, and some of the young guys and what they've got going over there. The thing is, I think the Heat will be more watchable than Portland and Chicago by game 30, when it's very clear that Portland and Chicago just ain't it this season. And at the end of the day, you just want to you want to watch winning basketball, unless you're a young losing team like Detroit, where wins and losses don't really matter for them because they're developing. Or Houston, to your point. Well, that actually leads us to our next question. David explains why he hates Jalen Green next here on Locked On Heat. To help Heat fans get ready for the upcoming season, Official League, the fastest growing sports merch company, is launching an exclusive limited edition hat inspired by Miami Heat star Bam Adebayo and designed by viral artist NBA Paint. Only 100 are going to be available of each hat for purchase at officialleague.com, and the new silhouettes feature a funny food character inspired by each player. And Bam Adebayo is Ham Adebayo. Here's even better news. We're going to be giving away a free hat to one of you. To enter for a chance to win a free Official League Ham Adebayo hat, all you got to do is leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and then email a screenshot of your review to lockedonheat@gmail.com. You can also send that to us on Twitter or by Instagram direct message if you are email averse. Here is the catch. You only have until Bam Adebayo attempts at least 18 shots in a game. Once he does that, we are going to close entries. We've already got a bunch of ratings and reviews in, so you got to get on it now for a chance. Email a screenshot of your 5-star rating and review to lockedonheat@gmail.com for a chance to win a free Official League Bam Adebayo hat. We're going to play a new game here during our 5 burning questions, David. It's called, Why Do You Hate This? And David, my question to you is, why do you hate Jalen Green? Explain yourself.
Oh, with a passion of 1,000 burning suns, Wes. I cannot stand the very sight of him, according to Houston Rockets fans. For those of you who stay off for very obvious and healthy reasons, NBA Twitter, I got into some hot water for daring, I should say, to offer my perspective on young Houston Rockets player Jalen Green during an episode of Locked On NBA. A lot of Rockets fans think, oh, well, his team just got torched. As I've mentioned many times before, the Heat, not my team, the team I cover. I try to cover the league at large.
Also, the Heat won that game.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But Jalen Green was incendiary. He was torching Miami, which I said on our recap of the game. He did play very well.
Yeah.
He was torching a team that didn't have Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, or Bam Adebayo on the floor. So, maybe that makes that might have been a factor in his ability to get hot from three-point line. Not that he's not a bad shooter, bad scorer, whatever. But my co-host, Matt Moore, asked me whether or not I was buying or selling Jalen Green stock. I said I was begrudgingly buying because, he's a good scorer with some potential on a really bad team. And I just don't know how it's going to translate. You look over the next season, what's he going to do? Put up some big numbers, none of which means anything, because the Houston Rockets probably won't win more than 25 games. By design, they don't want to win more games. They're going to be an unwatchable team. Talk about dead last in your watchability rankings.
Yeah.
The Houston Rockets should be it, unless you're a sadomasochist and you love that kind of thing. And you love watching teams put up a lot of empty points and then giving up a lot more points in the process. So if you like that sort of shit, go ahead, watch the Houston Rockets. Having said all that, I don't hate Jalen Green. I just offered my perspective, my opinion. And your
opinion was, you're bearing the lead here. Your opinion is that he's a bench scorer. You basically just called him Jamal Crawford.
You're setting me up here, and I don't like that either, because I just don't think – they asked me what his long-term prospects would be. And I said right now, it looks like he's trending. So at some point in his career – given the instability of this franchise, the fact that they have no structure, no coaching staff, Stephen Silas isn't going to be coaching there beyond, a season or two? He's kind of in place there the way, what's his name, Brent, whatever, in Philadelphia was there to kind of babysit Brett Brown while they were babysitting the 76ers until they actually had to win games that mattered, until Joel Embiid got his head out of his ass and stopped drinking Shirley Temples 24/7. And he was like, oh, you know what? I actually have to win, right? So given all of that, the Houston Rockets going to be bad. Again, bad by design. None of these games over the first season of Jalen's career.
Well, your issue is that they are going to be bad by design, because you actually made a good point on the show, and I think you were just to defend you for a second here. I am a Jalen Green fan. I actually think he's going to be a multi-time All-Star. I think he's good. Maybe not a multi-time All-Star, but I think he's going to be a very good scorer in this league and a very important player. I'm bullish on Houston's upside, but I do agree with you in the fact that you can't just keep losing games by design for too long. And I don't know how much longer the Rockets are going to be doing this. Maybe it's only another year, and then you start to really try to start winning some games. But to your point, you do wish there were some veterans. They have Eric Gordon, but it kind of feels like they're going to try to trade him at some point. You wish you had some sort of veterans and some sort of stability there to teach guys how to play NBA basketball, how to approach practice behind the scenes. And obviously you would hope that Steven Silas is doing that, or the assistant coaches. They obviously have a long-time assistant in the league, John Lucas, on the staff, who's the interim right now. But you need other players, and you need to kind of create an infrastructure. And I understand you questioning whether or not that infrastructure is being created. But to be clear, you are not backing off on your statement, but you also do not hate Jalen Green. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right,
that's fair. Should I add more to it? Because I can keep going, buddy.
I think it's all right. You could save it for your crossover episode.
I can't wait for this to be clipped ad nauseum and just torment me again. Torment my mentions. As long as you click and hit play, I don't give a damn what you say about it.
Fair enough.
You know what? And I'll just add for the record too. I can hit a free throw. I don't know if that necessarily means that I'm qualified to continue talking about basketball, but apparently, according to some people, fans, Houston Rockets fans specifically, that seems to be the requirement there. So I don't know. Wes, can you hit a free throw? Or can we continue talking about basketball, or do we have to go out and shoot in order for us to prove ourselves?
I hit a 3-pointer on the practice floor, first try after media day. So
that's
I'm
right.
more than qualified.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So there we go. We both qualify as hoop experts now. Right. To that same question, then, why do you hate? Well, we've heard your perspective before about large gatherings, especially large gatherings to watch basketball. Why do you hate Toronto's famed collection of fandom, Jurassic Park?
So I'm glad you brought this up, actually, because the reason I hate it has evolved with time. Obviously, the 2019 finals, we all remember these diehard Raptors fans who just couldn't bother paying for a ticket. And that's not to be like a 1%er thing, but this idea that the fans outside are somehow better than the fans inside was the thing I didn't like. Or even the fans outside who had to just urinate in their own pants because they couldn't lose their spot, as opposed to a fan watching on the couch with his or her family is somehow a better fan just because you're willing to stand outside in the cold. That to me, I never liked. I never liked that whole thing.
I didn't even know that was a factor.
In your own urine. But now so I didn't like that whole idea back then, which is why I first started hating on Jurassic Park. Now, David, I hate Jurassic Park because every team in the league is trying to create their own stupid Jurassic Park. We saw the Milwaukee Bucks doing this a couple years ago during their finals run, and in the playoffs for the last couple of years. The Golden State Warriors outside of Chase Center have created something called Thrive City, which is a place where Warriors fans. Now, maybe I understand that one because those tickets are so freaking expensive, but also you're not a better fan because you go there. It's not an awesome thing. It's actually pretty inconvenient and annoying. I think it's okay to just sit and watch the game on your couch, and I just don't like that every team in the league is like, hey, let's just put this big TV outside and just attract a huge crowd and then charge a bunch more money for arena-priced concessions outside of the arena. It's just, I hate this trend. I think it's stupid. It's not fun. And what really bothers me is that now every game where something like that exists, they are panning to the fans outside as if it's something special, where it's just people standing outside doing something that they could otherwise be doing inside. I don't understand why every team wants this. I don't understand the infatuation with it by ABC, ESPN, TNT, you name the broadcast. Stop showing me people standing outside. Show me people inside, because that's where all the action is. So I hate Jurassic Park and all the things that come from it.
Yeah, I don't want to see fans in any place. I don't want to see fans in the arena. I don't want to see fans
Go back to the bubble.
Standing there.
Go back to the bubble.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Last basketball there.
Last question.
No, I also add this. Milwaukee Bucks fans, they have that out there, but they love standing in their own urine regardless of the situation. So that's why they do that.
And I respect them for that. Doesn't matter. They don't need the basketball. They're just
okay. They have the porta potties. They just choose not to use them.
That's how we do it in the. I don't know. I said we. I'm not from the Midwest.
Brew City, Cream City, whatever they want to call themselves.
I like Milwaukee.
Good for you.
All right,
love
last
being
question.
there.
This one's a surprise. It's a personal question. It has nothing to do with basketball. This is how we usually end 5 burning questions. All right, so I got into it with my fiance a couple days ago. When you buy lettuce from the store, okay,
Oh,
and
that's
now
a big
you
assumption.
use that lettuce in a meal, maybe it's a sandwich, maybe it's something else, that a salad, like whatever you're gonna do
Okay.
lettuce with. Do you always wash your lettuce?
Yes,
You do. So I knew I was in the wrong.
absolutely.
I get into this fight all the time. I hate washing my lettuce. I hate washing it. Am I nuts? I don't wash
Yes.
it because it gets all soggy and wet and gross, and it ruins whatever the lettuce thing was supposed to be in the first place. I'd rather
Well,
risk it.
I don't think it has to. I think you can dry it off using a piece of cloth or some kind of a paper towel if you want to waste paper.
Never dry
that's
enough.
fine. But you could just rinse it, just kind of put it in a colander and dry it there for a little bit, and it won't ruin anything. We eat salads, we eat sandwiches with lettuce in them.
Yeah.
I don't think it really damages them all that much.
But you wash it every time. You always wash your lettuce.
I wash every piece of produce that enters this household because I do not trust any agriculture, even if it's farm to table or whatever you want to call it. Even if I buy it from a farmer's market, that stuff is getting hosed down. I don't trust it. I mean, you got to use pesticides or some kind of chemical at some point or another. I don't trust it. And even if it says ready to eat, it's like, well, screw you. I don't trust you.
I
don't
trust
believe
that
for a
sticker.
second.
If it says ready to eat and pre-washed, I was like, thank you so much for doing all the work for me, mystery person.
You look out
factory.
for it. You look out for it. It's like,
I only buy
that's regular lettuce.
I only
It says
buy
ready to eat,
pre-washed
I'm
lettuce.
buying the ready to eat.
Yeah, I only buy pre-washed lettuce because now I don't have to do it. I never wash my lettuce. I hate washing my lettuce. I never wash it. It's probably not going to kill me, and whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I also don't really like my apple wash is so superficial. It's just very like right under the sink, not all sides. It's just it's for show. When I wash the apple, it's just like my fiance is like, "Did you wash that?" I'm like, "Yep." You heard the sink running. Sometimes I'll just put the sink on, put the faucet on, and not even put the apple under the water. I'll just run it just to say I did.
Wow. You pretend to wash your hands in the bathroom too?
No, that's where I'll draw the line. That's where my
I
hands
should
are not
hope so.
pre-washed. Lettuce is. My lettuce comes pre-washed.
Maybe. Well, I'm starting to question. Just remind me not to accept an invitation for salad night over at the
Right.
Goldberg household.
The potluck. You're not eating the Caesar salad that I'm bringing over.
Oh no, it's got to be all cooked. So.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember to subscribe to new episodes of Locked On Heat on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, and ring the bell to get notified as soon as new episodes go live. Now, for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey all combining into one ultimate NBA preview. Search for Ultimate Pro NBA Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. David, thanks for joining me.
Hey, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You're Houston Rockets.